We shall not be diverted from our course.
Margaret Thatcher said, there's no such thing as society. Everyone is responsible for themselves. No one is responsible for anybody else, which is totally alien to the way I was brought up.
And is alien to the fundamental wiring that as animals we need in order to survive and thrive, basically be happy.
David Longy says some Prime Ministers take office, some take power. Which did you take?
Both.
Margaret Thatcher was a keen advocate for the reduction of the state, believing the power of the free market could provide society with what it needed. Of course, the reduction of the state meant that the markets could be handed control of amenities and the maintenance of infrastructure, giving them free rein to provide for us, the electorate, with supposedly what we needed.
But the power I took was the power to reduce the power of government, to reduce the taxation, to reduce the ownership of government. In other words, to limit the powers of government, not to enlarge them.
To pull this off, let me hand over to the late great Labour MP Glenda Jackson.
Is that we were told that everything I had been taught to regard as a vice, and I still regard them as vices, under Thatcherism was in fact a virtue. Greed, selfishness, no care for the weaker, sharp elbows, sharp knees, they were the way forward. We've heard much over and will continue to hear over the next week of the barriers that were broken down by Thatcherism, the establishment that was destroyed.
We can't take it.
What we actually saw, the word that has been circling around with stars around it, is that she created an aspirational society. It aspired for things, as indeed one of the former Prime Ministers, who himself had been elevated to the House of Lords, spoke about selling off the family silver, and people knowing under those years the price of everything and the value of nothing.
We, as a society, were encouraged to be selfish, to be responsible for ourselves and our families, and so had to fight for the riches we were encouraged to believe we were entitled to. Responsibilisation was a key factor in this change, from the onus being on community to being about the self. Responsibilisation is the transfer of responsibility from higher authorities to communities or individuals who are then called on to take the active role in solving their own problems. So the state could withdraw and the services the state provided could be sold off, basically handed over to corporate rule.
We're having a party, no Thatcher's done. We're having a party, no Thatcher's done.
Can I just ask, is it the right time to have a party, really?
Yes, it is, yeah.
Why?
Brilliant time.
Because you ruin this community.
Brilliant time.
Absolutely. Ruin the community, ruin families, people's lives.
Click here for the full speech on Thatcher from Glenda Jackson.